Dave Walker, Future Tense Band.
And I'm David Robles, and I have a new band called Struggle Monkey.
Yeah, these guys are good, man. I've seen the show. I've seen it from the beginning. It's killer good.
Yeah, this will be, God, we have a date coming up here when the 24th of September.
Yeah, this will be, what's that, next Saturday?
It'll be our one-year anniversary. It was September 26th last year when we played that benefit together. And that was one of the first gigs I played in many years, and we had a good time up in New Milford.
Yeah, that was a grand day. I won't forget that anytime soon. A lot of good musicians, and the band was crackerjack, top of the line.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that was right out of the gate too for you guys. I remember going, wow, is that really live? And then I went inside, and it was.
Conversation, she spoke just like a baroness. Little man from China, returned to Asia Minor. Didn't get accident.
That was a good time. We saw some good friends there and stuff, but I have to, kind of commend you about this room, Sugar Hollow Taproom. I guess you've done so much work here trying to help these guys get going, and it's just really starting to take off.
It was my pleasure to work with these guys. This room, as soon as I heard about it from Dave Rabin's sound man friend of mine, that this was going to be owned by musicians and it was going to be about musicians performing here, I said, that's the kind of place I'm looking at and would like to have my band be a part of. So I came down here as they were starting to scrub the place up and getting it ready to be a business again after it'd been closed for a while. And I met with the owners, and I liked these guys right out of the gate. I liked everything that they stood for. They're both in bands themselves, so when I say it's a club for musicians, owned by musicians, it's truth. These guys know what they're doing, and I wish them all the success, and that's why when I put my oar in the water down here, I wanted to see this place start off on the right foot. So we came in, we took a look at it. First thing I thought of was, you need the room to sound right. And that was a big problem. In the past, it was a lot of work, and most bands did not like the way the room sounded. And we started talking acoustical treatments, and then right out of the gate, the guys that owned the place said, take charge, let's get this done. So if you come down here and you hear a band, you're going to hear a band sound the way it's supposed to sound.
It seems like there's a lot of restaurants that are tending to just try to put bands in their restaurant.
Well,
and some of that will work sometimes, but this is a place that's exclusively for live entertainment.
Yeah, this doesn't have TVs. We don't have a pool table, and I like that. There's so many places that just want to have a band as an afterthought, or worse, fill for a DJ. And this is not about that. This is strictly for the bands. So with that concept, every time you come here, you're going to know it's going to be about live music and nothing but live music.
So what have you done to improve the room for the sound? Not only for the bands, but for the people that come in.
We started with all the curtains going around the room. You're going to see some acoustical drapes, and that's a special order from a company down in Georgia. And then we decided that we were going to put the acoustical panels all around the room. And some of these panels now have been decorated by one of the local bartenders here, and she's an artist, and she brought all of the artwork to the actual plain panels that are on the wall. Each of the panels is very expensive, and there's almost 16 different acoustical panels in the room. That wasn't enough, though. We still had to work with the acoustical treatments on the ceiling. The foam was a labor of love. It was not cheap, but it had to be done. If you look at the ceilings in the room, you'll see foam treatments that pretty much encompass everywhere over the band, and then the runway going into the back room. Most of the rest of the treatments for the room are about tables, chairs. There's a nice listening room, they call it, in the back with couches, and even that is acoustically treated. So if you don't want to be, in your face with the band, you can go in the back room and kind of have a little more quiet time back there.
It's pretty cool. I remember my first time coming to the room. I was actually I'm an audio engineer, as you know, too. So I was doing sound. I was doing sound for a band, and I just came in and just ran their gear, and I was just really impressed at how quickly I was able to get a good mix. I was really able to crank it up to about 100 dB and get it. It's just a warm sounding kick drum. The highs weren't just murdering you, and you could walk around comfortably, feel the band, but it wasn't like murdering your ears.
When they first opened up, I believe it was October 2nd last year, so they'll be coming up to their 1-year anniversary, and you guys will be playing in another week or two, and Future Tense will be here October 1st, which is the night before their actual anniversary date, and the room was treated, and then we had the first soft opening and everything was going okay, but as we walked around the room, the house sound guy and I were like, well, but this is still pretty noisy out here, we need more. So it took a couple of months with extra added touches here and there to really tame the room, but now it's about almost 100% right.
Well, I can't wait to see what bands come in and how they do. I mean, there was a benefit here last week. And there's 5 bands here, and I think 5 o'clock afternoon, 4 o'clock I came, and I don't know how many people here. I mean, I don't know what the capacity is, but there must have been 150, 200 people here at least.
Yeah.
But it was still not, you could still navigate the room, there's places to go,
Yep.
you can get beer real quick.
Yeah, one of the biggest selling points I kept telling them to not forget about in the seasonal aspect of the room is the outside patio is now totally done and refurbished and reset. People can go outside, sit comfortably. There's some nice chairs, nice table tents, and enjoy the outdoors. Doors are open. You can still hear the bands. They're right outside the door on the patio, raised patio, done very nicely. And that is a big selling point for the room.
Very, very cool. Where do you think what do you think this venue is going to look like in a year after it develops and more people hear about it and more bands kind of come in?
I think the word is slowly getting out. I think more of the mainstream bands that are starting to approach the room are going to bring it to the next level. Mm-hmm. I think the idea of the open mic night, the DJ night, singer-songwriter night, everything that's been proposed has plenty of room to grow. Right now, I'd say they should probably keep their focus on the Friday, Saturday night thing, and with that, it's a labor of love to find the right bands that are going to work for the room.
Yeah. So, Future Tense, you guys have been around for a long time.
This is the beginning of our 44th year.
44th year.
Yeah, August was our beginning of the 44th year.
Did you know that my parents used to take me to come see Future Tense when I was a child? Do you know I actually used to breastfeed to Future Tense music when I was a child?
I have no doubt. I remember the first time we met, I think you were probably 17. I think you were probably playing at one of the local downtown Danbury clubs. Must have been Tuxedo Junction. And I remember hearing people saying, this kid's going to go somewhere. He's got endorsements. I'm like, no, I'm not buying any of that. And sure enough, I stand corrected. You were well advanced for your age back in the day. So here we are today, and it's been a long road for Future Tense, and as well with you. You've stayed with it. I know Mark and the rest of the band has been doing this for a long time. I've seen many versions of...
Our drummer's a child, by the way.
That I didn't know. That I did not know. Haven't met him officially yet, but I will next Saturday. So, with that said...
So one of the things that first of all, what do you think makes Future Tense so successful over 44 years? Being that if you're going to play a local venue right now, I think it'd be very surprising if it wasn't absolutely jam-packed. So what do you think is the difference between what you're doing and what other bands are doing or have done?
Well, the first thing is, we treat it like a marriage. It's a family. It's a business. So the business sense, you say, oh, do you guys really still practice? Yeah, we do. We practice just about every week. And it's not to rehash, not to, although there is times when we've had a couple of months off where we have to come back and review, but keeping it fresh, always trying to look down the road. And if I was to say one of the biggest things that we've always done over the years was to reinvent. We've always come up with something that kind of reinvents the band. And not always through necessity, being the mother of invention, but sometimes the right thing happens at the right time and you go, are we going to do this or not?
Right.
And you take a chance and see what happens. And with that, we've gotten very lucky with reinventing. The biggest reinvention was after 18 years with the guys, we decided that Paulette should be in the band as one of our lead singers. And that was one thing that definitely launched us in another direction and kept us viable to this day.
So last week I was sitting with Mike Walsh, your lead singer, and we were having just a really good conversation, and I was telling him that as we started to talk about the idea of Struggle Monkey and putting this band together, Mark and I, our lead singer, were just kind of discussing what is it about Future Tense that kind of makes them a little bit different. And from an outsider view, this is what I notice is, first of all, you guys are not playing for just yourselves. It's not like this is how good we are. You're absolutely playing for the audience and playing for the people. That's one thing. Second thing, you're not reading lyrics, and you're not reading your iPads, and you memorize your music. As weird as that sounds, there's so many bands that go out there, and I respect, and that's totally cool that they're reading iPads and reading their lyrics, and I know it's difficult, but if you're entertaining the audience and you're trying to project what that song is about, and you're into the lyrics of the song and you're trying to get that out there and project the song the way it is, I think it's difficult to do that while you're reading music.
We've noticed a lot of that, and it's been in the last 10 plus years with bands that literally every single person in the band has an iPad. Their face is on a music stand, their face is into the iPad, they're reading lyrics, and I get that. It's hard to memorize lyrics. Hey, listen, I'm glad I'm not a lead singer because I can barely remember Werewolves of London, and that's all of 3 verses. So with that said, I do respect it, but at the same time, it does seem like what's going on here? Is this what the new generation or the laziness factor has entered into the entertainment business? I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. But it does take away from the show, in my opinion. But again, if good is good.
Well, from a fan and from the outside aspect, you see a band that just focused on entertaining and having a good time. Now, one thing I can tell you, I've never seen a lead singer like Mike Walsh give so much energy and give so much of himself every single show. And not that I've ever seen 10 people in a room, but if there were 10 people in a room, I think you'd see exactly the same energy as you would if there were 500 people in a room.
The best bands, I just saw one last weekend, and there was all of 25 people for the entire night. These guys have been doing it as long as we have. Extremely high-end session players that formed this band. They played like there was 200 people in the room. It's a secret that a lot of bands don't bring into current day. Now, I hate to say it, but if you can make that energy always work the eye contact.
It's good.
That's going to change. That's going to change the course of how the night's going to go.
I think there's also kind of like when you come to see Future Tense, I believe there's kind of a little bit of a shock and awe aspect of all the equipment. which we've stolen from you. I'm going to tell you, we drag in all the
You
equipment.
know, we kid because we love, Dave, but, you know, you've always had the right spirit when it comes to anything, any project you've ever done. You always bring the show. I can remember a story. Yeah, I don't think you know where I'm going with this, but I can remember a story where you came to Future Tense and you said, "Hey, I need some lights. I'm playing over at Briar Patch, and we got to have lights." And I said, "Dave, whatever you need. I'll unload the vans, whatever, you know, just bring them back." And that kind of always speaks to me. You know, it's about the show, and when it doesn't become about the show, which I see a lot of bands now that, you know, they don't even have a light, let alone multiple lights, or any gear. They go only and work clubs that have gear, have lights, have house PA, house sound man. They don't own anything. They own their iPad and their guitar. You know, if they could plug in and not bring their amp, they'd do that too. If they didn't have to lift and touch an extension cord, they'd do that too. That's fine. But as you know, this band now loaded up with gear. You know, we've been collecting it for a long time, and unfortunately most of it's in rubble now and it's in a landfill. But if you don't constantly upgrade the gear and buy new, you're not going to have the show. And that's what I noticed about the last time I saw the videos of your last show, is that all the gear was there, the show was there, the lights were there, the fog, everything was, you know, the music was big as a house, and that's what makes a band presenting a show.
We've tried to, in the last, you know, I think the idea that Mark and I had when we were on the driving range hitting golf balls about starting a band was that we were just having a conversation of the way it used to be. Okay, and we know what that used to be. So I said, if we're going to do a band, let's go out and just make it an absolute rock concert, or a show. We'll just promote it as a show. And actually, Struggle Monkey, believe it or not, we weren't going to go out as a band. We're actually, the idea of it was to go out with two bands and have an opening act and a concert. And we will eventually maybe do that at some point, but we're only doing our fourth gig at this point. But that's one of the ideas, you know, that
That's
we have.
a great idea. And, you know, I think there's a lot of merit in that. I think there could be, I think that'd be a great suggestion for some of the many bands that are out there that are struggling, to put together a third set, if you will. They don't have 3 strong sets. Maybe they have 2 strong sets, dance bands, if you will, not show bands like what you're doing. But, you know, to have that opening act in your pocket and ready to go out is, you know, there's this and then there's more.
Do you remember
Great idea.
Do you remember seeing bands like, actually I saw a concert with my daughter. We went to see Green Day and Weezer at City Field, and one of the things I was just, which we totally ripped off, by the way, was the intro that they did, which was an edited version down of Jump by Van Halen. We ripped that idea off from that concert. And when you play, it's like you have the music playing, and then all of a sudden you jump this edited version of the song out, the lights go down, and everybody feels this tension. And that's how we start the Struggle Monkey shows, to try to imitate that. The smoke, and we come out dressed up, and people are just laughing, and you see the video cameras out, and you let that kind of be your social media promotion. And that's, as we're evolving this thing in its infancy, you know, that's kind of one of the initial, you know, ideas of that. And
all those showbiz tricks, you know, we've seen it a million times over the years, and, you know, it would behoove the bands today to pay attention to what the masters of the craft did back in the day. You know, you take a trick here, you take a little lighting effect there. I still do it. Anytime I see something, it's like, I got to remember that, you know. And it's not easy to do because I'm playing bass. I'm not playing with the lights necessarily during the show. If I've got my hand on the lasers, they'll go off when I say they go off.
Yeah.
If I've got my foot on a foot pedal for the strobes, they'll go off when I want them to go off. But other than that, I need both hands up here and not be thinking about that.
your amplifier is as big as a refrigerator.
Oh,
Why do you still drag the thing on?
Now here's the thing. Do we still this could go on. We could digress here and go off into the netherworld with this conversation.